I really liked how, like originally when I thought about doing this episode, I was just thinking about like how I was in my 20s at the time. I lived in a military town. I was married to somebody in the military, and it was so heavy in the clubs, but you would go into the club, and as soon as one beat from a Little John song hit, the entire environment just changed. It would like erupt. There's just energy everywhere, hella fights. I don't know how it was where you were at and what was going on, but that's how it was for me. So, where were you at when Crunk kind of hit?
Wow, yeah. So kind of similar. Military town. Sierra Vista is a military town for what Chuka's out here. Yeah, I mean, it was very much the same. I was younger. Crunk time, I mean, I was in, I guess, well, because, I mean, it was more than a year, right? So, like,
Yeah.
when the Crunk era started, I was in high school, graduated, and I was already after high school, like 18, 19, 20,
Okay.
going through the Crunk era.
Okay. You weren't much younger than me because I had just hit like 20.
Yeah, so yeah, only a few years behind you. But no, yeah, it's like you said, it was very much of, I mean, shoot, clubs anywhere. Like we would be like in the parking lot, and someone would you just hear that a Little John beat just boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, and it was, I mean, people were throwing bows, and it every time before, like I played football.
Yeah.
Before a football game, it was a Little John.
Okay.
It was,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was MOB, Annie Up, Bone Crusher, Never.
Yes.
Like, it was like and Bone Crusher too was that was kind of like, I know he's not considered, you know, of the Crunk ilk, right? He's not like
Right.
Trillville or Lil Jon, but
Yeah. He didn't
was
have that
definitely right
commercial, success.
there.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
right there with it. He was right
Yeah.
there with it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We saw him live. They brought him out here, like I told you. It was actually a day event. It was like they had like an outdoor event that was sponsored by that club, and they had brought him out as an act. And like I went there and we were hanging out, everything was a good time, and then he came out and shit got wild, and I was like, fuck this, I'm out. Shit, I'm gonna get hurt. So I went home. But yeah,
Bone Crusher's wild.
he is, and like he literally the same shit he did in the video, like tearing his shirt off. He did all of that stuff, and I was like, okay, that was too much. I gotta go home. But yeah, I remember in the live that we were talking, you had mentioned the political climate at the time, also in correlation to the Crunk era. So I kind of wanted to like dig into your thoughts on that and like how you kind of connected those dots.
Yeah. So the first Lil Jon album was, I think it was Kings of Crunk, I think it was called. Yeah, that came out in 2004, right? And that was really the first like mainstream Crunk success, right?
Yeah.
Like that was the first time the masses heard of it, besides people in the South and hip hop heads, of course.
Right.
And that was when you started getting the songs, like in music videos, all that stuff. But so in 2004, when you look back at it, you know, this was right in the midst of, you know, the war in the Middle East,
Right.
Iraq War, all that stuff. 9/11 was fresh, right? It was only 2-3 years ago at the time.
Yes.
And it came out, the whole era really blew up, but that whole thing came out in the time of, I want to say societal turmoil, right?
Right.
In the sense of we really didn't know what was going on. I mean, I remember I was around back then.
Yeah.
After 9/11 happened, people was like, oh, was that going to happen here? Oh, the base is going to get bombed. Like everyone was worried. Like everybody no one knew what was going to happen. Is there going to be another bombing? Like everyone was on edge.
Yes.
I mean, don't even get me started on anyone that has a hijab or hijab or any Muslim garb at all.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like anyone that had anything like that on, burqas, anything like that, it was automatic. Like it was bad.
It was definitely a terrible time.
Yeah, again, not good, not a good climate. But that's what it was. Everyone's on edge, and so when Crunk came out, you know, you have this sound that kind of plays in part of what society was feeling, right? Angry, disturbed, confused, you know, just irrational. I just got this pent up. I don't know what to do with it.
Right.
Because I mean, again, I remember back then, and it seemed kind of corny now and kind of reserved for a group of people that we don't got to get into. But back then, everyone had flags. Everyone was a patriot. I mean, like I said, after 9/11, I mean, you couldn't walk down the street of anywhere in America and not see 1,000 American flags waving.
Right.
Sporting events, you know, people were ultra patriotic. So everyone had this like pent up aggression, even if they didn't know it. And so I think the music really let people feel it for the first time and let it be okay to be wild in the club and throwing stuff and throwing chairs and all that stuff. I mean, it really spoke for, which hip hop does all the time. Yeah. People just don't realize it, but it really spoke for the times that people were living in at the time, the mindset at least.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I definitely can see that. It's funny because, like, you know, we were saying we're both affiliated with military, and I remember when 9/11 happened, I was 2 weeks past my due date with my son. So the morning of 9/11, I got woken up. I'm fucking 9 months pregnant. And I turn the TV on and I see this shit, you know, and then it's like, in hindsight, looking back at like my partying days, it makes so much sense because I was so stressed out. I was home with my son. My ex-husband was overseas. We didn't know what the fuck was going on. Technology sucked in the early 2000s. So communication with anybody in the military who was overseas, like on any type of deployment, was really sketchy at best. You know,
at very best.
And then it's like we would go to the club, and I mean, I don't know about you, I would leave, my hair was stuck to my face. You know, like I would take my shoes off. I didn't even wear heels to the club back then because I knew I was going to go in there. Shit was going to get wild. I was down for it. And then when I went home, I was cool. I was peaceful, and I would go to sleep.
No, very much the same. Very much the same. Like you said, you know, I had family that was in the military at the time even. And yeah, I mean, any kind of communication with anyone that was in the Middle East at all it was awful.
Yeah.
The video, it was pausing all the time, if you could even get a signal.
Right.
It just wasn't good. And like you said, no one knew. Like, and the difference between nowadays and, you know, the wars and troops overseas compared to back then is with nowadays the access with social media.
Right.
And, I mean, everyone in their palm of their hand. I mean, you have access to, the world. So you can see right now, if you go on certain maps and certain apps, you can see right now what's happening in Lebanon, what's happening in Iraq, in Afghanistan. Whereas back then, all we could get was the news would tell us.
Right.
Like, that's all we knew.
Right.
We knew there was insurgents. We knew there were terrorists. We knew they had bombed us.
Right.
And we didn't know what they were capable of at the time. We were going over there for weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
Like, we had no idea.
Right.
And so, you know, like you said, people were scared. And I think a lot of people really, especially people back here, really needed that outlet of like, I don't know if my husband, brother, cousin, aunt, mom is coming home.
Right.
But this music makes it okay because I can do something with this angst that I have.
It's so crazy because Lil Jon and like every crunk artist like wasn't even inherently political themselves, right? No. It wasn't even really like, none of their lyrics really pointed to that, but it's just kind of like you said, it was just kind of like a boiling point, I think, in society because, you know, the media is like that. We always, everything that we get through like, you know, mainstream media, it's all filtered, it's all, you know, airbrushed and AI'd up to make it, you know, packageable for the general public, you know, and yeah, I just, that is a real response because I would have never thought about it like that. But it kind of always seems like hip hop is the genre that responds to what's happening in society, even without directly acknowledging it.
Yeah, well, that's how hip hop started, right? Like it started as a voice for the people that had none. It started, right? So it started in the Bronx when, I mean, you talk about the late 70s, early 80s when, I mean, it looked like a war zone over there at the time. I mean, it was wild. Like people didn't have heat, didn't have running water. They went outside, they just kind of played in whatever they could find. And yeah, I mean, hip hop, and not even emceeing an artist at the time, what we call it now artists, but you know, they weren't even really the voice. The outlet was dancing.
Right.
It was breakdancing, it was graffiti. Right. Were the two main outlets. And then as you went with the discos became more popular, that's when DJs came along, because they started the discos and kind of went up from there. And then, of course, MCing was actually one of the last things to kind of really come through as far as like an acceptable version of like, I can do this as an art.
Right.
Because originally even, and I don't have to give you the history of hip hop,
right.
But for the sake of the episode, I'll just kind of go through
I'll take it. I'll take the education.
yeah. No, but so, I mean, because originally what it was is the MC was the backup for the DJ. He was the one saying, hey, there's a Ford Taurus parked outside. You got to move it. I got somebody's keys up here. You know, that was what the MC did. The master of ceremonies, MC.
Yeah.
They backed up the DJ. They did announcements. And then it wasn't until later when you have people like Scott LaRock and Coke LaRock and all those people back in New York started actually putting rhymes over the break beats.
Right.
So when DJs would play the break beats, because the break beats, the break in between the song, of course, when the instruments are playing, the DJs would loop that. They would juggle it back and forth between both tables so that people could dance to it.
Right.
And during that time, an MC would pick up a mic and he would just he'd say a little kind of rhyme to get the crowd going, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, everybody on the floor.
Yeah.
Like something basic, something super simple.
Right.
And that evolved into, now I'm going to rhyme about the crowd. Now I'm going to rhyme about what's happening outside. Now, and then that just kind of goes on to you got like something like The Message with Grandmaster Flash.
Yeah.
And Furious 5. So like the evolution of it started off with, we're angry, we're upset, we're happy, we're mad, we're whatever, and we don't have a voice or a proper place to put it. I mean, I know it's not a mystery,
right?
But, you know, Black people, people of color, minorities, they weren't, you know, there was none of that on radios and mainstream on TV. That wasn't happening. So the only way you could do it was through these art forms, through dancing, through graffiti, through MCing, through DJing was the only way you could really express yourself. And so, you know, that's how it kind of became a vehicle for people that didn't have that voice that they could use, and, you know, translate it all the way. So 2004, 2005, and it's the same thing. And one thing you had said is, you know, how things at the time were packaged. They were airbrushed. I mean, we're talking the early 2000s. You're talking shiny suit P. Diddy. You're talking about early Hard Knock Life Jay-Z. Right? Yeah. You're talking about like real refined. I'm showing off my money. I'm showing off my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was the early 2000s in hip hop. And for this thing to come around, and it was grimy, it was unfiltered, it was dirty, it was, you know, we're going to yell as loud as we can on the record. I mean, the dump is just a heartbeat.
Very raw.
Very raw. Very raw. So
when Dave Chappelle, you remember the Dave Chappelle special when he was talking about how white people were playing Lil Jon on the radio, but you can't say skeet skeet on the radio. Wait until the white people I know what skeet skeet means. Like, it just was so funny because, like, you know, that boiling point really did in those times, I feel like, is what pushes that type of hip hop into mainstream pop culture, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, and then you look at what came, and of course I want to, you know, what came after that in the sense of what came to the masses and mainstream. These things were years before was already happening in the South and Atlanta. They were doing that crunk stuff, you know, 2001, 2000. It came to the rest of us after that. But like hyphy came right after that, the hyphy movement, which again, that was going on in the 90s in the Bay Area, but it came to became acceptable after Crunk opened that door of this is messy, this is dirty, this is grimy, unfiltered. And then hyphy came in, and hyphy, because of the beats, it sounds more polished, but really it's a West Coast version of Crunk. I mean, if you see, you know, people just like I mean, the way they dance and the stuff they talk about, it's almost beat for beat the same thing as the Crunk movement in the South. It just because there's a West Coast bounce to it. It doesn't sound so raw. But I mean, if you listen to Mac Dre, I mean, it's just as raw. Too short. I mean, come on.
Bitch. What's my favorite word? Bitch. Hip hop is just, it's so like historical, and like, and not to say like other genres aren't, but it's just like you can literally pick times in our history throughout existence where you can correlate the music that was coming out of hip hop to what's actually happening. And I really thought that was so cool. And I was so glad that you were willing to have this conversation with me, because I have ADHD and sometimes I'll be thinking like all these random thoughts and I'm like, yeah, I want to talk about this. And then you said that and my brain was like, I need that perspective. I need it, because I mean, it's important too, because one, you know, you're actually in the culture. So you get to see it through a lens that I can only like interpret through what I get to see on the outside, because no matter what space I'm welcome into, I'm usually just a guest in that space. You know what I mean? And so you get to see it from being inside the culture, plus also having the relationship with music that you have. I feel like that makes your perspective even more valuable.
Yeah, no, yeah, I appreciate that. But no, I do. Like, so when people say, you know, oh, I like hip hop, or I like country, or I like rock, and you know, when I say it, I always say I like hip hop music, because I am hip hop. Like, hip hop is the culture that I was born into and just grew up with. It's not just music. It's the dress, it's the slang, it's the way I dance, the way I talk, the way I view things. It's hip hop,
right?
And so hip hop is an entire cultural thing,
right?
And hip hop music is what I like.
Yes,
I also like country music. I also like a little bit of rock. You know, I like a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
but I like hip hop music. I am hip hop.
Yeah,
like, that's how I always like to categorize it, because I mean, it's just a culture. It's I can't not be it. I can't not be hip hop. Like, I'm always gonna be it no matter what.
Exactly, because it's your lived experience.
Yes. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I wish Asians were as cool as that, but we're trying. I think the younger generation is trying to come up. We're trying.
You know, Asians as a culture, and I hate to say Asian, because I know there's a lot of different. But in general, I mean, even if you're breaking down to Koreans, Thai, Chinese, Japanese, in each group, I mean, there's a lot of hip hop influence. And I mean, when you start talking, especially with breakdancing, especially with the breakdancing, I mean, there's always been a lot of really good Asian breakdancers that I've seen, and I've actually known some in my time. So it's really cool to see. But you know, and real quick, you know, that is something though you had said before of. You know, hip hop is one of the most influential because it's also one of the most accepting cultures around. Like, I mean, we've seen the struggles that someone like Beyonce, a literal queen, goes through trying to get into country, and she's from Texas. Like, and her trying to get in her country album going and her country stuff. You see the struggles she's going through. Even like people like Shabuzi, for instance, he made the record, but I mean, I know a lot of diehard country, born and bred kind of people, and they don't consider Shabuzi country, they barely consider Luke Bryan country. I mean, you know, so like
well, I mean, but so that's kind of fair. Kind of fair.
I get that. He's more poppy than anything. And don't get me wrong, I actually like me a little bit of Luke Bryan, but and rock the same way. Like with rock, and I would argue rock is probably one of the harder genres to really break into and be that person. I mean, and no offense to rock, I like me alternative. I like me a lot of classic rock. But to be real, after about 2008, 2009, there hasn't been a lot of movement in the rock genre as far as like, oh, this is new. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they live a lot on what's it called? Not vintage, but like throwback. I can't think of the word. But they live a lot through that. Man, why can't I think of this word? Not reminiscing, but they just live in it. They live in the past, in a good way. I mean, there's fire, classic, unforgettable, undeniable, certified classic joints that came out of the rock genre in the 80s, 90s, and 70s. But they live in nostalgia. That's what I was trying to say. They live in that nostalgia.
I couldn't think of it either.
Reason. So for good reason. But I think because of that, you know, a lot of people have a hard time breaking into it. But hip hop, I mean, Miley Cyrus was I have my gripes about all that, but Miley Cyrus did her hip hop stint. You know, Justin Bieber did a hit, which for Justin though, he does at least pay homage, and he'll get back, and he'll. You know, he didn't just abandon it altogether, but you see how people, I mean, Gwen Stefani, you see how people come in and out of hip hop as far as music goes, and there's not a whole lot of like pushback compared to other genres. So you know, that's one of the reasons it's most influential, is because anyone that has a voice, we'll give them the mic. And be like, yeah, let's see what you got to say. Where other genres, they won't even give you the mic. They'll be like, nah, get out of here.
You are correct about the rock, though. It is like, I feel like even in the last 20 years, there really hasn't been anything significant. Now, when it comes to rock, I will say that if you're looking for something specific, like say if you're looking for something along the lines of like Rage Against the Machine, which is my all-time favorite band, love them. But if you're looking for something like that, you have to actually go find them the old school way. You cannot find them in any commercial, anything. You have to look for them. They're at festivals. They're playing shows in small clubs. Like,
yeah. I found one of my favorite rock. They're more like ska, but I mean, same kind of thing. But when I was in Flagstaff in northern Arizona, I went to this festival. And they're on stage, and of course, I forget their name right now. But I mean, they literally travel around like pretty much Arizona and the West Coast. So they're not even like that big of a band. And I'm upset I forgot their name, but that's how you're right though. Like the chance of you just being on the radio and hearing like the new big rock song. I mean, it's just not like you know what I'm saying. Like, and I agree with you. The last 20 years, like, and don't get me wrong, I like some Panic at the Disco. Right?
Yeah,
I like those groups and those bands, but I mean, unless they go real pop, like Imagine Dragons kind of stuff, or Maroon 5, like it's rare you'll ever get any like authentic rock stuff that people generally go for.
Right. So. And even the bands that I like the most are like heavily influenced by hip hop. So like, and there's a band. Yeah, right. There's a band, I believe they're out of LA, somewhere in California for sure. They're called Fever 333, and they're kind of like in the same vein of being political. Rage Against the Machine is, but they're a bit more high energy. Kind of like one of the reasons why I started listening in the first place. I really like when political bands that are influenced, you can hear the hip hop influence, and then it's a person of color in the band. It just makes it like top tier.
Yeah, no, I feel that. That makes sense. Makes sense. But I mean, again, and you see that hip hop influence. I mean, it's hip hop largely took over and consumed what punk rock initially came in to do, right? Like punk rock, they were anti-establishment. We're gonna have the Liberty spikes and the Mohawk spikes, and we're gonna wear the chains and have piercings, and we're gonna do everything anti of whatever the norm is.
Right.
Punk rock kind of became a niche kind of genre, but hip hop largely consumed what that was. And just did the same again when bring it full circle back to Crunk. I mean, Crunk is a hip hop version of punk rock. Yeah, I mean the mosh pits, right? The energy, I have all this angst I'm gonna do with it. I mean that's all Crunk and punk rock. Like, they're like sisters or brothers. They're like brothers with it. Yeah.
I mean, like legit, you could put Little John in a hard rock festival, and literally everybody will mosh to that, and they'll do it happily. I've seen it. I've seen it.
I've seen it too.
Yeah.
I've seen it with Lil Jon. I've seen it with Waka Flocka Flame.
Yeah.
I mean, Hard in the Paint. Like, come on. Like again, it's. I'm not gonna say it's punk rock influence because I think they're kind of too separate to say they're influencing each other, but it's definitely of the ilk.
Right.
Of that it's a hip hop punk rock.
Right. I want to say like I mean I don't want to get too deep. But I think the basic consensus is that rock and roll was stolen from Black people.
Oh yeah.
So
that's
So
you look back at Chuck Berry and all that stuff. I mean, it was very much a lot. Well, I mean, to be fair, back then, I mean, that's just kind of what it was, which it's not good, and that shouldn't have happened. But
it's a lot of things, we got to change that language, though.
Okay, yeah,
let's change that language because, I mean, we can't change it now, but it's not, even though we can't change it, it's not just what it was. It was still wrong. It was still biased, and it was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, no, call it out. Yeah, we should definitely call it out. Yeah. And I think it's okay. It's okay to call it out. I mean, you look at Muddy Waters and Wolf and Cadillac Records and all that stuff. I mean, all that stuff was like literally stripped from them and given to all these other artists that were white at the time. Ray Charles, a lot got stolen from him. It's. I mean, you can take it back for centuries, but like I agree. We got to change that language of the whole. And that's something I've been fighting against too. Is the whole like, well, it is what it is. Like, no, it's not. Well, I mean, it is what it is, but what it is wrong, and it's okay to say it's wrong. Yeah, it's just wrong. It's okay. Like we can say that. Things change, opinions change. I remember, we were both in high school in the early 2000s. There's a lot of words, a lot of terms, a lot of jokes that we made and would say, and I wouldn't even come close to saying stuff now because I've learned, I've grown, and I can say that was crazy, that was wrong, I was bugging out for that, I was tripping. But I mean, that's what it was. But I mean, now I can say it's wrong. I can change my behavior.
Yeah.
That's the most important part, is change behavior.
Yeah. I'm on a really big kick about that for 2026. You know, I feel like a lot of times we let things, and I think that's how we end up in situations like we're in now. So we gotta, words mean things, and we gotta be careful with the things that we say.
Yes, words mean things. I mean, anyone, I mean, I know you've been in there, but anyone that's been a part of my life will know I'm big on energy. That's why I picked the time frame I picked. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Arizona time, is because, to me, I remember when I was going into an office, and I mean, it was rough some days. Like, I'm talking like, you know, considering just driving away and never coming back some days, having to go through and go to a job you don't really care about, dragging your feet, just living for the weekend. So I was like, you know what? Let me give what I couldn't get out of the beginning of the day. And that's, you know, good vibes, positive energy, good energy, high energy. And I see sometimes some people get a little negative in the chat. They'll make a comment here and there about an artist, or they'll say something, you know, not so positive.
Right.
Either one, I just ignore it. Or two, I'll be like, hey, positive vibes only, guys. Positive vibes only.
Right.
You know, because it's important to me.
Yeah.
Words mean things. Your energy means things.
Yeah.
That comes back to you, and it'll consume you if you let it.
Yeah. I think that's part of the reason why I decided to stick around. I like your lives, because it's like you come in, you just vibe out. We're all listening to some really good music. We're having a good time. And, you know, it's like just those couple of hours we get to forget about all the stress and just reset. Yeah. And I love it.
Yeah, no, that's what I've seen. I mean, including yourself, but you know, I've seen a lot of people. You know, they're always there. You know, there's a couple of people. You know, Sway, Brian, Fear, Cute Irish. There's a Sigma Mom. There's a lot of people that they're just always. They're always there, and you know, I like it because I feel like I'm now a part of their routine. I'm a part of their cleansing, their morning breath of fresh air. Yeah, and I love it. You know, because I was doing this before I went live and turned on TikTok. I was already doing this. Like, I would get up in the morning, I would just start mixing, because I mean, I love doing what I do. I love DJing. So I would just start practicing, scratching, mixing, listening to music. And so I was like, man, let me go on live and see what happens. And like you said, I know like the gifts might get expensive. And that's why, if you notice, like, I never ask for gifts. I don't mention the goal, you know, of course, but like, tap the screen. I always say tap the screen because it's free. Yeah. Tap that screen. Yeah. It's a free thing, and it gets the algorithms going. Yeah. Outside of that, if I get a gift, I love it. I appreciate it. Yeah. But I want to be one of those DJ or live talk goers that are like, you know, hey, I need a gift.
Send me a universe. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Unless it's a crazy request. Now, if somebody wants a super left song, I don't like messing up the vibe. Like, I vibe with my music so much. Like, if I got to play a song that just don't really fit, I'm like, all right, I'll do it, but you know, you gotta show a bit of love. Right. I mean, you don't have to. You can just sit back and just chill. Right. I got you.
Exactly. You can't like pop up at an event, you know. And so like I'm like, well, how can you're giving me such good vibes like every day. So I just wanted to give the love back. And I really appreciate you taking the time to like have the conversation.
You know, I'm glad we're doing this because I invited my boy. He's in the chat all the time. He's on the shirt actually right now. He made this shirt. DJ Teddy Kruger. Okay. Right there. That's my boy. That's my brother. He DJs with me clearly. I invited him over on the 28th, which is a Saturday. We're gonna go live, a special kind of thing. I'm gonna announce it tomorrow actually. Sweet. So we're gonna go live. We'll do my usual. We're gonna mix some music. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna get in front of the camera and have a conversation. And you know, we can actually do it with you a part of it too, just like we're doing, but just have him next to me. I think that might be real cool. Get a perspective from two DJs. He's more on the producer side. Right. He DJs, but he produces. Like he'll curate like an amazing mix. He makes beats. Like he makes music. Like I DJ on the fly. Yeah. Like, I'll get behind the deck, turn it on, and be like, all right, let's vibe what we vibing with, and I'm mixing everything on it. Him, I mean, he'll sit there in the studio and just make like he's so dope with it. It's amazing, and he does graphic design clearly. Oh, that's cool. So I like our flow and balance is so dope. I think it'd be kind of cool to have you do your thing here with Velvet Underground, and me and him, we're just chopping it up about music, DJing, whatever.
Hell yeah. That sounds dope to me. I love it. I love to talk.
Okay,
if you haven't noticed, I could talk all day. All day, man. I could do this all day. I really do appreciate it, though. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm sure you're busy, premier party DJ in Arizona.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's Southern Arizona, right?
Yeah, right next to 30 minutes away from the border. Border of Mexico is 30 minutes away.
Oh, shit.